Welcome to lesson number 4, in which the original audio of our video was not recorded because I forgot to turn the microphone on. So this is going to be partly reteaching the lesson and partly director commentary. So if things seem to be a little out of sorts with what's going on the screen, it's entirely my fault. So welcome. Telling everybody welcome. One of the cool things about this week's video compilation, which we'll show in a minute, our sock videos, was the fact that we had 10 seconds to do a sock video. We could do it in any way that you wanted: action, mystery, comedy, but at the same time we didn't have you edit. Oh, well, see, I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to tell you we're having a discussion of my t-shirt. It's Doctor Who. It's done in the style of a 1960s album. I collect a lot of these t-shirts, so there you go. So we're going to show the video in just a second. We've got more latecomers coming in. A lot of the people that worked on the video, they went ahead and brought it into an editing program and made a couple of edits, which was totally fine. But one of the things that we can tell from watching our video is how challenging it is to get everything right in one take. How challenging it can be to have to start over and play the whole thing, or record the whole thing from the beginning, without realizing that, hey, I'm going to be able to trim this, hey, I'm going to be able to put it together with another scene and be able to actually make a good video. So a few people did that already, and that was awesome, but one of the things that can be taken away from this last homework assignment is how challenging it is to do it without editing, which is of course what this lesson is going to be about, is how to edit. So I'm getting the video set up here.
All right, soldiers, we gotta prepare for battle.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mom. Whoa. Hey.
Finally, free from that godforsaken dryer. Come on, brother. Brother?
Hello, and the news report for today is... Save me, save me! Don't worry, I'll save you. Thank you, mister, thank you. You're welcome.
Sock.
My name is Evil Sock.
Evil Sock, what are we gonna do with you?
It's time to visit my brother today. Oh no, he's dead! What?
I will defeat you, Evil Stock. No, you won't. Ha ha! Ha! I win.
Sock man, putting on socks to take down crime.
I'm so excited about the field trip today. Oh no! Dryer monsters! Separate them! Batman, save us! I'll save you.
I found the caper. It was literally the caper.
Oh no, I can't find my other sock. Can anyone help me? I know where she is. Where?
You have failed me for the last time.
Okay, so here we go. I was telling Skylar just how awesome her video was with the socks and the set. Everything was set out. She really planned it. She did some editing. She had those socks all ready to go, so that part was really cool. She was telling me that she had some issues with the editing program, and I don't know. I use my hands a lot, so I'm not real sure what she was saying here. But I put in my section of that video was action sock, as well as the Darth Vader at the very end. I threw that in so that you guys could kind of see how we could use another app to be able to add some fun special effects. It's a little bit challenging to do when you've got your camera on a tripod and you're coming back in and trying to have your hand exactly where it needs to be inside the screen. But that's what I wanted, was a lot of action sequences and quick editing. And so, what I'm talking about here is how, each clip that I made was a little bit longer, but I made sure to trim some from the front and the end so that we got a much more concise. I wanted it to be action, action, action. See, there we obviously are laughing and having a good time talking about her socks and how they were all rolled exactly correctly. She says they were her little brother's socks. Skylar snatched them up from her little brother. We were real impressed though with the thought that went into hers. A lot of them showed a story, which was kind of cool. Everybody everybody had the same assignment. It's 10 seconds for you to make a movie that stars your sock. So we had everything from, oh gosh, we had the Batman saves the day. We had action sock where he's Wyatt's chasing him down while he's clinging to the outside. I really wish we'd gotten the audio for this. This wound up to being such a great lesson. Lots of good discussions, which now I have to come up with. But one thing I can tell you is these kinds of mistakes, like making sure that your microphone is turned on or not making sure that your microphone is turned on, these are the kinds of mistakes that sometimes come up, and it can be a real big problem when you're doing a movie. I mean, you will never be able to dub the audio over in such a way that it makes any kind of sense to anybody. So, this first part we're talking, it's just basic chit-chat. I almost shouldn't even be editing this or giving you audio for this until we actually get down to the lesson portion. But today we're focusing on editing, which is where you have this initial idea for your overall movie. You've got to break it down into sections. You plan ahead and you say to yourself, I need a scene of one thing, and then this other thing, and then this other thing, and this other thing. You have the freedom to be able to start recording on your camera and then calling for quiet on the set and action, and then your actors waiting for a second or two before they go ahead and get starting acting, knowing that you're going to be able to edit this video clip down to take that section out. So it gives you a little bit more freedom to be able to do that. Let's see, I'm trying to see what we're talking about here. I have no idea what I'm talking about here. Okay, I'm talking about the difficulty of recording my my action sequences. The app that I used for that, by the way, is called Action Movie. I don't know if that specific app is in the Android store. I do know that it's a iOS and Apple. It's in the iTunes store for sure. I think the app itself is free, and then a certain number of the effects come for free, and then you have to purchase the other special effects as you want them. I think they're usually about $1 or $2 for a 2-pack of effects. And when you're recording, it basically shows a circle on the screen, and where that circle is where the effect is going to to happen. So you try to record somebody in that circle or standing on that circle, and then you can tweak it a little bit to be able to make it make the effect start and end where you want it. And that's what's really awesome to me, is the makers of that app probably never thought about that as being a way for student filmmakers to be able to do better special effects for their little tiny short films. They were thinking about it in terms of, okay, somebody can have a good time by making a short 15-20 second funny video and email it to grandma or put it on Facebook or put it on Instagram. If you're thinking ahead and you know, okay, I have an app that has an effect of, fire, hands coming into the screen and firing phasers. If you have written a science fiction film where you need your person to get shot with phasers fired by a large number of people, you film everything up to that scene, and then you use your special effects app and you film the person reacting to getting shot with phasers, like I did with the sock, and then you export that, and then you take that sequence and drop it straight into your film where it needs to. With enough planning, you can actually do it that way. But one thing to kind of keep in mind is, we discussed in class files, the file size. So you've heard of things like 480p, 720p, 1080p, 4K video. These are all different file sizes, basically, for lack of a better way to describe it to you. So you have to be thinking about, where are the people going to be viewing what I'm creating? If you're creating something for somebody to only watch on their iPod or on their phone, you can probably get away with recording it at 480p, which would be a fairly small file. But if you're going to put it on YouTube, you're going to need it to be a minimum of 720p. And then, of course, the bigger the screen, the bigger the number you need to have to be able to make it look really super good. So if you're using a device that doesn't have a whole lot of storage, then you may want to stick to 720p and below. For the Action Movie app, it gave me the option of saving it in standard or higher definition. So I did it for higher definition for that purpose, so I could drop it in and have it look right. So one of the terms, getting to what we're doing on the screen, one of the terms that you need to kind of understand is the term assets. When we talk about assets, we're talking about different kinds of things that go into your movie. So they could be video files, which are going to be the things that the clips that the scenes that you film with your phone. They could be sound files, and that includes sound effects. And so there's a number of different places online where you can find free sound effects. So if you're wanting to sell something, if you don't have the big budget money to be able to, have fire coming out of the end of a gun when you're having somebody shoot, you might have the person who's getting shot with their back to the camera, like I was doing. Then you might have somebody like Mr. Hyde, standing. You might have a scene of him holding the gun about to fire, but then you film from behind your victim. And if you drop in the right sound effect, that gunshot sound effect at the right time, and then the person reacts and falls down, you've sold the idea that they've been shot by using the sound effect. Music files are another type of asset. So when you are thinking about your trailer, you might be finding, if you're doing a mystery, you might find a spooky piece of music. You might find some other kind of piece of music that's going to work really well. That's going to be one of your assets. I think here we're speaking a little bit about the role that sound effects play in any kind of a video. So, one of the things that we're about to talk about is ambient sounds. So if you walk out with your video camera into the woods and you just want to shoot trees being trees, right? So you start your camera recording. The question is, what do you hear? What are some things that you hear by yourself in the middle of the forest? And what that is, the sounds that you hear, is called ambient sounds. So that's everything from bugs chirping, buzzing, walking around, branches and leaves moving in the wind, maybe squirrels chittering in the background. All of those kinds of bird sounds, those are all ambient sounds. And we don't think about those, but if they are missing from a piece of video that we shoot, we totally notice it. So if I was to play a section of video that shows a forest but had none of those ambient sounds, you might not consciously think I'm missing ambient sounds of the forest, but your brain is going to not be engaged with the story that I'm trying to tell because it knows that it's missing something. There's an entire industry inside the filmmaking industry that revolves around the sounds that go into motion pictures. And a lot of the sounds that you hear were not recorded on the set, but were added later by special effects artists known as foley artists. So, we talked a little bit about there's different, things, movies that you've seen. You may not, if the Foley artists are doing a good job, then you're not even going to notice the work that they're doing. But you would notice it if somebody is walking across gravel and it doesn't sound like they're walking across gravel. Or if a door closes and you don't actually hear it close. If you're doing a spooky trailer and somebody's going into a haunted house, you can sell the fact that that's a creepy old house just by when your main character opens up the door, you hear that squeaky sound. If you hear that rusty hinge sound, that sells the fact that it is an old house. It's spooky. You might want to be a little bit, on edge as you're walking in. So everything that goes into making the movie that's sound comes from the Foley artists. So they will have, sometimes there's lots of great videos where you can watch the Foley artists working and they're watching the movie on the big screen and they're recording their sound. And so you'll see on the big screen somebody walking and they may have a table that has a piece of wood and a pair of shoes, and they may put their hands in the shoes and have it be, clomp, 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 clomp to give the effect that they need for somebody walking across the stage. Things like Star Wars, things like the lightsaber sounds. Some of the Foley artists' interviews with them indicate that they recorded sounds from those metal cables that are support cables for like power poles, and you see them in these movies where they're collecting the sound, and they've got headphones on so they can hear the sound really well. They've got this great microphone where they set it close by, and then they may have a wrench and they like whack the wire, and the vibrations and the sounds that those vibrations make of that wire was recorded. And then they may layer sounds on top of it and tweak it in a program so that it sounds higher or it sounds lower, so that they get the sounds that they want. They build these sounds. Chewbacca's growl is another good example where they recorded things. They recorded lions and bears and tigers and all kinds of like carnivores making growling sounds, and they mix those things together. Yeah, here I am talking about whacking the wire with the wrench. And it's fascinating. I like to collect these kinds of sounds. I have an app on my phone that allows me to record sounds just as little sound files. And if I'm walking around and I hear a sound that's kind of unusual, I want to collect that sound just in case I might need it later. So one of the kids during this discussion brought up the thing that I had said in another class about the bathroom at City Hall. And before they switched to the newer air conditioning units, it was a very loud air conditioning sound in the women's bathroom. And it gave the impression to me of the types of sounds that you might hear if you were in a spaceship out in space. That's what it was. This hum. It was kind of rhythmic. You could tell that it had to do with moving air, and all of that together made it sound to me like it might sound if you were living on a spaceship. And so, of course, photos are another kind of asset. So you might drop a photo in as part of your project. So we're getting ready right now. I'm wiping down the board. We're getting ready to start talking about the actual process of editing. So I'm going to discuss and draw some things on this board to start with, and then I'm going to bring out my iPad and we're actually going to look on screen as I do some live edits. Some of the kids that are Android users had some difficulty getting the files onto their phone, and that's always going to be a challenge with filmmaking, is making sure that the file types that you have will work on the device that you want to edit it on. Even when you're editing on a computer, this becomes an issue. So just get used to it. We are dealing with a workaround, so our next set of files for your homework for this week that you'll need to download, I'm going to make sure that I get those to Mr. Hyde, and he's going to make sure and verify that they're in a format that can be placed onto an Android device for those of you that are Android users. I do the Apple products, so any file that I send out is going to work just fine for the Apple products. So editing is going to be all about taking the large amount of video that you have shot for your project and shortening it down in such a way that it makes the best possible story. We've all watched videos where something seems to happen for so long and it doesn't seem to have a real purpose, and you just feel like, you know what, if we cut a lot of that out, we'd have a better, tighter movie. And so that's really what the editing process is about. All right, so when you it doesn't matter what program you're using to edit, we call it the timeline. It's putting the pieces of your story in order that you want how you want your story to unfold. Beginning, middle, and end. Everything between the very start and the very end goes in order. So most of your video editors are going to allow you to have a video track and then 1, 2, 3 audio tracks. So we're going to imagine that we have an editor, we're using Filmora Go. It's similar to this. We're going to assume that we have 1 video track and 2 ways to put audio. You need to start thinking about this almost like layering things on top of each other. So the video track, when you record your video, you're getting audio through your camera anyway. So if you're recording a scene where 2 people are talking to each other, you've recorded video, you'd place that in the video track. It's already got the sound from that scene. You've already got, your boy and your girl that might be talking to each other. That audio is right there in the video. But when you're making, in this case for your film fest, you're making a trailer, you may need background music for that. You may need sound effects, and that's where those are going to go, is in those audio tracks. So we're going to imagine that you're doing a video that has 4 individual pieces that you have recorded. Okay, so you can see I've put 4 boxes on that video track. And so I've drawn the universal symbol for play. So if I was to press play, once I've placed these in order, it's going to play the first video clip, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, all in order. So when you start editing, you're going to do all your editing to your video first. Don't put your music in, don't put your sound effects in until you are positive that your video has been edited exactly the way that you want. So here I am emphasizing the fact that when you record that video, you're also getting audio that's a part of that video, which you may not need. If you were shooting a silent film, you don't need the audio. It's okay that it gets recorded. And that can actually be kind of cool, because as a director, you can tell your people, okay, now punch him, or now run away. And you can say that out loud while you're recording, and it's okay because that audio is going to be taken out. So what I've done there is I've drawn a musical symbol and put a line across it. So, a lot of times you can turn the audio off on that video clip. So like I said, if you're doing a video that doesn't need audio, you can turn it off. So I'm asking here, what happens if we've got you realize you've put your clips out of order? In most of these applications that you're going to use on a device, it's a simple matter of drag and drop. So if you've got 2 after 3 where it should be ahead, what you basically do is you put your finger on the clip number 2 and you wait till it gets highlighted, and then you lift it up and you drag it over and you place it between 1 and 3, and those 1 and 3 are going to kind of move aside and allow you to drop that into place. So just remember, when you're editing on your phone or on a tablet, it's a whole lot of dragging things where it needs to be. Once you have your pieces in order, that's when you're going to start looking at your overall piece and starting to kind of trim down each clip and saying, okay, I don't need the first 3 seconds of clip number 1, and I don't need the last 4 seconds of clip number 1, so I'm going to cut those out. And it's all about trying to tell your story in a very concise and effective way. There might be times when you need to have very little action going on the screen, but that needs to be a conscious choice on your part instead of, I recorded it, therefore it goes in the movie. It's funny, we have to make sure that we don't consider these clips that we film to be like our babies. We don't want to kill our babies, but they need to be edited down a lot of times. So what I'm talking about here is let's say I have recorded and I want to drop a piece of music in. So I take my piece of music and I drop it into this timeline, and it's going to be in its own separate track. And you can see there on the right that audio track extends beyond clip number 4. So maybe the video that I've shot totals, let's say, 2 minutes, but the audio track that I've dropped in is 3 minutes long. If I don't take the time to make sure that I cut that audio track to fit the amount of video that I have, then what's going to happen is when I play that back is I'm going to get 2 minutes of my video, but the video itself is going to go on for the full 3 minutes, but it's going to be a solid black screen with music for that last minute. The programs that you use to edit they're gonna look at the fact that that audio track is longer, and they're gonna assume you want your whole video to be longer. So you'll have to go in and trim the music to fit. But this is why we want to do our editing on our video stuff first, because every effect that you make on the video is going to make a difference in how long your audio stuff is going to be. So in this bottom track, I've drawn another square, and I'm using that to represent a sound effect. So if you, in your scene towards the end, let's say towards the end of scene 1 and the beginning of scene 2, you need the sound of an explosion, you're going to make sure in that bottom track that you place your explosion, and you're going to be watching that video and you're trying to place it exactly where you need. It's going to take some work. One of the things that we recommend is that you use earbuds or headphones plugged into your device when you're editing, because you will wind up playing the exact same clip over and over and over and over until you get it the way you want it. Trust me when I tell you, you will drive everyone around you insane if they have to hear the same 3 seconds of video over and over and over again. So do everybody a hand, and just plug up and listen. All right, so we're going to transition now. We're gonna put on Filmora Go, which is the app that we have recommended for everybody to use. Now, I just want to let you know, it is not my first choice in film editing app. We have had some students have some issues with it. We selected it because it was an app that was available for both Apple and Android phones and tablets, but at the same time, it is not the one that we would go to first. But our goal for this course was not to make it such that you guys are going to have to spend $15 to $20 in apps to make sure that you can be a part of the course. So, if you have a different editing app that you prefer, please use it. We just want to give you guys kind of the basic tools of editing. Not sure what's going on super high, but anyway, we want to give you the basic tools for editing, and if you really enjoy this, you're going to move on to better and better programs. If you are on an Apple product and you have iMovie, iMovie is something that you can edit in. Personally, I really love one called Pinnacle Pro or Pinnacle Studio Pro. I'm not positive if it's available for Android, but it's my go-to app for editing on my iPad and my iPhone. I can't remember how much the app was, and there's no way for me to go back and double check it. But I want to say it was in the $8 to $10 range for the app itself, and I know I spent another $4.99 to unlock it so that I could pull my assets off of Dropbox, which that's another issue that we've had this week with regards to music. So, you may find this great piece of music online that you want to download to your device to use, and we're going to assume that it's royalty free and you've got permission to do that. Android, you have no problem just downloading it and having it show up in a way that these programs are going to recognize it. If you are an Apple user, you have a much harder time getting music onto your device outside of iTunes. As a matter of fact, it's impossible. So if you are running an Apple product and you're going to be doing this, what you're going to wind up having to do is finding that music using a desktop computer, saving it to your desktop, importing it into iTunes, plugging your device into iTunes, and manually putting it onto the device, which I don't know why Apple makes it that difficult, but I have not been able to find any other workaround. Unless you want to count Pinnacle Pro, which Pinnacle Studio Pro, because I've got it fully unlocked and able to use Dropbox, allows me to go on my desktop, save my piece of music into my Dropbox, and then inside the program I can pull those assets, including music files, off Dropbox straight into the app, which will recognize them and allow me to place music at the back. So, all right, so we're plugged into my iPad now, and we are going to put up Filmora Go. We are going to use the same files that everyone downloaded from Dropbox, which were filmed by everyone last week during our lesson. We're going to take those clips and we're going to run you through the paces of editing in Filmora Go. So here's the opening part for Filmora Go. Again, there's a ton of different video editing apps out there. Skylar said she was having an issue and she wound up using an app called Clips, which I also have. That was the one that I was going to use for this class until I realized it was not something that was going to be available for Android users. But she used an app called Clips to do her editing because she found she was having an error using Filmora Go. So I've opened this up, and what you can see on the screen is video is the first thing, and I had to picked the folder that I needed to go in. Now the problem you'll see here is you have clip lengths listed inside each of those circles, but there is absolutely no picture to indicate what each clip is. So it's almost a little bit of trial and error. So yeah, so I'm going through these clips and I'm seeing which ones are available. I'm going to go through and I'm going to select the clips that I want. So here's an opening that I want to use. So this was the opening that we also used for this week's video. Number 2, I'm not sure, so I'm going to press play and I'm going to see what kind of clip it is. And this is very frustrating for me, is to not actually have any kind of a preview of what that clip is. So having played it, I can tell, okay, yes, this is one of the clips from last week that I want to use. And yeah, I mean, a better video editor is going to at least give you a picture. If I could see that picture that's on the screen right now in that little box down at the bottom, I would know this is a clip I wanted. I would know that this other one is a clip. This is a clip that I want. So I'm going through and I'm seeing, okay, yes, this is a clip from last week. I want this one, and yes, so is this one. So you notice I've touched the check mark in the top right on each of those that I want to use. So you can see that now I've got 5 circles that are blue now. So now I'm touching the photo button at the top. You'll notice it's not showing up what my folders are. Those are folders. So I'm going through and I'm trying to figure out, okay, which was the image that I wanted to use. I didn't see it there, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to try another folder. And again, it's not showing me any previews, which if that frustrates you, it frustrates me too. Okay, so here's the image that I wanted to use. This is one of the standard green screen that you see right before a trailer. It says, you know, this preview has been approved for all audiences. So I've also touched that check mark box at the top of the screen, and then I'm going to press back, because it's gonna, this is a photo that I want to use. So you can see the circle is now blue. So I'm gonna press next, and it's importing all of those video clips and that photo into the thing, into the next screen. So the circles that you see down at the bottom of the screen, each circle represents your video clip. So you'll notice I'm scrolling through bottom left screen. You can see this is a clip number 4 of 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of 6. Okay, so the very last one here is my image file. One of the things I found with Filmora that's a little frustrating is there's an effect that a lot of slideshows place on an image. This is just a JPEG. This is just a basic picture. You'll notice that the lettering on the screen is moving when I press play. That's called the Ken Burns effect. It's meant to take a regular picture and kind of give it a little more movement, a little more action, make it seem a little more interesting than just showing just a picture. The problem is that Filmora Go does not seem to have a way to allow us to turn that effect off. So if I was making a trailer and I was editing it with Filmora Go and I wanted it to have that preview slide in front of the actual video of my trailer, I would not want that Ken Burns effect on. So what I'm probably going to do is not use that if I'm editing in Filmora Go. So I've gone back to this first clip. We're going to start editing. You can see down at the bottom of the screen with that clip selected, there's a lot of different options down there. If you were going to make this more of a silent picture, you'll notice it's got volume down there. You can actually turn the volume off for the clip. Right now I'm playing with the rotate button. If I wanted this clip to play with the people upside down, that's what I could do. I could rotate the video around, and when it's processed on the other end, it's going to play upside down. So you've got speed, you can see on the screen. You've got volume. I know I'm going to be touching each of those. So here's volume. On the right-hand side at the bottom of that screen, what you can see is that there's a slash mark through the music. That shows that there's no background music currently for this clip. But on the left, on the red, you can see that the volume is about halfway. That's representing the volume for the screen, for the video clip itself. If I wanted there to have no audio at all for this clip, all I would have to do is take that red circle and slide it all the way to the left, and you'll notice now there's a line through the camera, which indicates that there's no audio for this clip. So you'll notice on either side of the screen you've got fade in and fade out. Fade in is a type of transition where it starts dark, like black on the screen, and then slowly your video fades in so that you can see what's going on. And then of course fade out is the opposite of that, which means that it slowly goes back to a dark screen. This is the screen where you can turn it on for each clip. So here I've turned fade in and fade out on both of those, and of course I've turned off the audio for that particular clip. So we're going to look at some of the other things that they have available down at the bottom. But when I'm happy with it, I'm going to click that check mark box on the top right that says OK. Okay, so I can't tell exactly what we've brought up for this particular part of the screen. There's lots of different options down there at the bottom. And so, you know, I know that one of the things you can do is put different effects on. Oh, I'm sorry, I know what this is. We're dealing with speed here. So you'll notice starting on the left, it says the middle is normal. Everything to the left slows your clip down. Everything to the right speeds it up. If you're going to be shooting a clip that you know that you're going to need to speed up, if you make it 4 times faster, that means you're going to need 4 times as much footage to be able to play it. So keep that in mind. Here we've gone into the clip. We're going to potentially edit it. So what we're going to do is we're watching this clip. The most interesting part of that clip to me is Mom helping Wyatt film. So the part at the end where they split apart and she starts walking to the left is maybe not as interesting to me as the first section. So you'll notice on either side of the clip at the bottom, you've got a blue line. Those are the slider bars. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that slider bar on the right-hand side. We're going to place a finger on that bar right there to the right, and we're going to actually slide that to the left. And what that's going to do effectively is it's going to make the ending point of the clip sooner than it normally is. So then we'll play it. Okay. Oh, she's walking away real fast. So okay, we need this to be a little bit shorter clip. So we're gonna try it here. All right, so they're good, but then she's moving maybe just slightly more. We're gonna move it just a little bit. So it's a real short clip now. You'll see the bottom right underneath where it says reverse. We're down to like 1.6 seconds for that clip. But maybe we just want, boom, we're just going to nail that little bit of the action. So when we're good with that, we're going to click that OK check mark up at the top. If we decide, oops, we need to make it a little bit longer, we just slide that bar back out to the right. You can also at the same time slide the bar at the front to make it start later. But we're going to say, okay, we're going to say this is good. We like this clip, and we're going to go to the next one. So now we're on clip 2 of 6. So we're going to watch it first. Okay, so the most interesting thing to me is the way the camera kind of pans around the kids that are having fun. So that means that the very beginning part where Palmer takes his hat off, that's not something that we find quite as interesting. So we're going to grab the blue bar on the left-hand side, and we're going to actually slide it to the right to basically shorten the clip down so that we're losing some of the beginning section. So you notice I've done it about halfway. So now I'm going to play it to see. Ooh, that looks pretty good, right? We jump right to the action. So we've taken a clip that was longer and we've shortened it down to like 5.7 seconds. So all right, so far so good. So we're going back to the beginning and we're going to have it play clip after clip. And again, I wish we could see the pictures in the bottom circles that would let us know what we've got in each circle, but Filmora it doesn't do that. So you can jump back to this screen and you can press the play button and it's going to play this clip. This is clip number 1. Then it's going to play clip number 2. Now you'll notice it's jumping around a little bit. That has more to do with the fact that we're editing on the iPad and then using an Apple TV. So that kind of jerkiness would not be seen in your finished product. Okay, so here's the clip of I think it's Alyssa jumping up and down. When we discussed the video that we shot last week, one of the things Mr. Hyde suggested, and he's suggesting now, is, in this clip, she jumps up into the window like 5 times. Maybe you don't want her to jump 5 times. Maybe it's funnier if she jumps 2 times, and then you put that same clip in later and she jumps 2 more times. I mean, it can be a recurring joke in your video. So maybe you show 2 different scenes and then she jumps up and down twice. And then you show a couple more scenes and then she jumps up and down twice. And then you show a couple more scenes and then, oops, maybe instead of jumping up and down twice, which is what everyone's expecting, you do something different. But again, you have to be willing to actually shorten these clips down. We can't treat all the video that we shoot for a project as our baby. I mean, I can tell you, I can go back and I can see video that I have shot for various different projects, and I can find scenes that are, to me, super hysterical, super well done, and at first I'll ask myself, gosh, I wonder why it didn't make its way into my finished product, and it may be that it just... it was just in the wrong place. It may be that it would have made the episode too long. There's a million different reasons things get cut, but you've got to be willing to cut it to really make it a tight product. So in this case, we've shortened it down to just 2 hops. All right. So now we're going back to clip 3 because we jumped over clip 3. So to me, the interesting part is not the very start, but again at the end where he's handing the wallet, Connor's handing the wallet over to Skylar. So we're shortening this clip down so that it's just her asking for it and then him responding. So we're happy with that. So now we're gonna move. We've already edited this one where she hops up twice. So now we've got this great one. You can't hear the audio on the clip, but it's dunna 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 dunna, which is funny. This initial part where you're hearing dunna 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 dunna, but all you're doing is seeing her just standing there before she starts to move in, is not quite as funny. It's super funny as soon as she starts zooming into her face. So we're going to shorten it down just to that. And I apologize for the glare on the screen. You could actually see it a little bit better on screen. But it makes the joke funnier if we cut out the part where we're just watching her just standing still. And that's really what the editing process is about, is taking these raw materials that you've shot and figuring out how to put it in the right order to tell a great story, and then consolidating and condensing it down to its best spots, right? So that's what we need to do with these different clips. So we're trying to, let's see, I'm sure we're having a great discussion now that off screen. There we go. We're going to edit it back down. And here we go. Da-na-na. And if we're happy with it, we're going to press that OK button up at the top. In this case, it looks like I'm trimming just a tad more. So now you'll notice I've watched this same clip like 4 or 5 times. If I was sitting in a room full of people, they would be absolutely being driven crazy by hearing dun 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 over and over and over again. So again, headphones will make everybody happy. It lets you hear things better as well. Okay, so we've got our editing done for this clip. I think this was our last clip. And again, in a minute, we're going to go back to that green preview screen, which ultimately we're going to wind up deleting just because we cannot turn the Ken Burns effect off. We cannot get it to just show that picture with nothing else. So here it is again. I monkeyed with it. There was nothing I could do to make it not jump around on the screen. So this is the kind of thing where I will touch this clip, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that out and delete it. If you guys decide to edit your trailers with Filmora Go and you want to put this preview screen at the beginning, please just let me know. Send me an email, and as we get down to the deadline for putting in our trailers, if you send me your trailer, your finished trailer, and you say, I want to have the preview screen at the beginning, I will absolutely be happy to add that to the beginning of your clip before we drop it into the computer that we're going to use to play everybody's films. There will be some extra information about it coming out this weekend, but it's going to be 3 p.m. on Saturday, July the 23rd at City Hall is when our film festival is going to be, so mark your calendars. We're going to be giving out prizes in the best trailer in each of the 3 categories, mystery, action, and drama, as well as we're going to have a viewer's choice. So we'll let everybody vote on the best trailer, and that'll be the viewer's choice award. We got some good prizes for sure. All right, so yeah, so it bumps around on the screen. There was nothing I could do. We tried adjusting the timeline, so we tried a few things here. We even tried saying, okay, well, what if we just shorten it down to just 2 seconds just to see would it just show up on the screen and then go away? Nope, it still jumps around when you do it, when you play it. So I'm not really sure what Filmora Go was thinking, but it still moves around and it's irritating. So Don't use an image that's supposed to stand still, for sure. Let's see. I know what we're going to do. One of the things that they've got down at the bottom, you'll see it's got something called filters. Filters are a way to make things. I think what I'm doing is, let's see. I'm not even sure what I'm doing on the screen right this minute, but I can tell you that with filters are a way to make things have a special look. Okay, so remember we talked about changing the order of clips. So here I am, I've pressed my finger on the second clip until it kind of highlighted, and then I'm moving these clips around into a different order. So you may find that, hey, this action sequence is going to work better at the beginning than it is going to work at the end. And so you can totally reorder the clips in Filmora Go. But you'll want to like reorder it, watch it all the way through. If you're happy with it, great. If not, keep making changes. So with Filmora Go, I noticed, I mean, at the beginning we talked about a timeline and we talked about video and audio tracks. The way for you to look at it. Okay, so here I am. Let me stop and talk about themes here. So I've pressed on the right hand side themes, which is underneath where it says save, and then on the left I'm applying the first one that's there, which is called Chaplin, which has it overlays it so that it looks like it's black and white. It's very grainy. There's looks like scratches on the film, and it's got this very like silent movie Charlie Chaplin kind of music set to the background. So if that's something that looks good to you, awesome. The next one down is love, which, for some reason love means having a pink filter over it, pink and orange. So there's a bunch of them there that you can kind of play with. If you're gonna choose something like a theme like that has an effect that it plays for your whole trailer, have a good reason for it. Like, don't just do it just because it's kind of an interesting thing to do. You need to have a good reason for it. And in Filmora Go, you will have to select that theme for each individual clip. It's not going to apply it to all of your video clips at one time. So you'll have to go into each one. And so let's say I've decided that this film is going to have no audio from the video. So nothing that I recorded, no sound that I recorded when I was doing the video. I'd have to go into each individual clip and turn that out. In Filmora Go, you've got a place that says music. So what I've done here is I've selected my music, and then I have selected the Kevin MacLeod piece of music that I put in the Dropbox for everybody. So now when I play my clips in order, it's playing that Kevin MacLeod, there it is, piece of music in the background. They do have some music that's already built into the app that you're welcome to use. But I'm about to show you how all the effects that you want to do, you're going to have to apply to each individual thing. So if I was going to make this silent, you'll notice I picked up the first piece here. And what I'm going to do is, you can see now on the right, instead of having the line through the music symbol, you actually see the music symbol and you've got the blue that shows 100%. So right now what I've done is I've turned on fade in, fade out. I've turned the audio off for the video, but I've left the music. So now here's clip number 2. I'm going to do the same thing. Fade in, fade out, no audio from the camera. I'm going to apply that to each individual clip. If I wanted each one to have a theme, like that black and white Charlie Chaplin theme, I'd have to go in for each clip and I'd have to select that theme. This is not the way it is with most editors. You can usually apply that to every piece of video, like the same effect to everything. But part of this is learning how to do it with some of these much lower apps, and after you start to get good at it, you're going to start putting money into it. You're going to start upgrading to better pieces of software. You'll want to start editing on your computer as well. So here I am, I'm exporting. I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm happy with this. I'm exporting. It can take a little bit of time, depending upon how large your project is, for it to export. And when it's exporting, what it's doing is it's taking all those little individual things that you've done to it, fade in, fade out, which is called transitions. So transitions, any filters that you put over the top, which those themes put filters in, but also add music, all of that kind of stuff gets put together and saved in a single package. So now that it's been exported, what I'm going to do is off to the right, it says save to camera roll. So I'm going to, and right now it's saving it. So now it's telling me that it's saved. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to start trying to play it. It took a little bit of doing. Again, the having to move the file wirelessly over Wi-Fi from my device to the Apple TV caused us to have a few little technical hiccups, which I'm working on right now. But if it seems choppy when you're trying to play your clips through on the app, it probably has more to do with your device than the actual movie that you're making. And once it's exported and saved, it's probably going to look totally fine. And that's what a couple of the kids were asking me is it going to play well once we do it? And it took a little bit of doing. Again, some little bit of technical difficulties. And so here's our popping up a couple times, and again it froze here. So and that had more to do with my device and the Apple TV than anything else, because I was able to scrub through. But honestly, that's kind of some of the most frustrating part of the filmmaking. It's super fun to plan these things out. It's super fun to actually shoot everything. It's the post-production stuff, the sitting down and the editing, that you get to a point sometimes where you feel like you need to pull your hair out. It's tedious, it's hard work, but if you're really passionate about filmmaking, you've got to get good at that, because it's going to be quite a while before you're in a position where you're working on a film set and you can hand this project off to somebody else to do that hard post-production stuff. So for now, as you're thinking ahead to your trailer, you're thinking about what's the big picture story that I'm telling. You're breaking that down into, at the very least, an outline. What are the things that you want to happen? What's your overall story, and what are some scenes from that story that you can shoot? And you can shoot a lot of stuff, but again, you can't treat your individual video clips like your babies. You got to be willing to kill your babies, which means that if you shot a scene that you love, but it just doesn't work for the project, it just doesn't help the story flow, you got to be willing to take it out, or you got to be willing to cut it out, which is why you have a lot of director's edition. Sometimes a movie comes out in the theaters and then you might have 4, 5, 6 or more different versions that are floating around or are available on the DVD, and it's because there was so much stuff that the director wanted to include, but maybe the studio wanted their movie to only be 2 hours long. But the flip side of that is I've been to movies recently that are 2 hours and 45 minutes. And when I get finished watching it, I say to myself, you know what? This would have been a really solid, tight 2-hour movie. But at 2 hours and 45 minutes, it just seems to be so slow and so bogged down. So as you're planning for your trailer, you've got your big outline of what happens in the story if you were making it as a movie. Then you're breaking that down into the scenes that you want to include in your trailer. And you're going out and you're shooting those scenes. Then when you start your post-production, you're going to start by thinking of it like a train, and you're going to place your scenes in order in that timeline. You're going to do all of the editing for the video itself first. So you're going to be trimming those clips down till you've got your nice solid 30-second, no more than 30-second, or I think we said 30 to 60 second. You can go 60 if you want to. 30 to 60 second trailer. Once the video is exactly the way you want it, that's when you start thinking about, okay, do I want a piece of music to go in the background while this audio is playing? Do I need a special effect anywhere? Do I have an explosion where I need a better explosion sound? in the video, or not the video, the email I'm going to send out to everybody for the homework for this week, I'm going to maybe give you some clips for some of those different places where you can get sound effects. It may be next week's email, but we'll see. So, that's what you guys need to be thinking about and practicing. This week's homework, I'm going to send you a link to a Dropbox folder that has a number of video files. What I want you to do is you're going to take those video files and I want you to edit them down into a smaller piece. You can pick and choose which one of these video files that you want, but what you'll need to do is on your device, pull them down into your camera roll and then bring them into the film editor. Again, if you don't like the way Filmora Go works, you could try Clips, which that would only be for Apple people. If you've got a better one that you've used, Apple people can also use like iMovie. I like Pinnacle. I don't know if it's even available for Android. I'll see if I can get a better suggestion for Android, but you're welcome to edit on anything that you like. But basically, look at the video clips that I have available for you. Pick at least, say, 3 of them and edit them. Okay? Try to see if you can use those clips to tell a type of story. It doesn't have to be... these are clips that are from a production that I did. It features children on a playground, so they're both running and playing, and they're freezing in position because they're trying to run away from something that's made them freeze into position. There's lots of fun little action clips, but I want you to just practice taking a bigger clip and editing it down. And when I send the email that has the link, it's going to have the details on, take these clips and make it, I think it's probably going to be like shorten them down to a piece that's 20 to 30 seconds long. Those of you that have been just emailing me your video clips, you are going to start running into problems soon if you don't start using Dropbox. There's a file size limit for emailing video files, and if you continue to try to email, the larger your projects become, the less likely it is that they're going to be able to be emailed directly. So if you haven't been playing with Dropbox, you really need to get to doing that, because that's going to allow, especially once your trailer is complete, I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to be able to email it. You're going to have to go through Dropbox. And it's all of these different projects where we've asked you to Dropbox your projects to us has meant, one of the purposes behind that is to get you to think about that and practice using that, so when you try to submit your end project, that's going to be something you're going to know how to do. And that's it for us. So yeah, I've already paused it, but thank you for listening to this director's commentary / reteaching of the lesson. I wish we had the audio for the original, because it was really awesome, and it seemed to, it seemed to be a very, very good, a super good lesson, but of course, this is what happens sometimes, and then you just have to find a way to go with the flow. So I will see you guys on Thursday. Look for the email in your inbox for your homework, and I'll have a couple of interesting little videos you guys can watch that'll be nice and fun. See you next week.